more minutes, see if we pick up a couple more people, and I will have my customary sip of coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will do so as well. I have my own.
So let's get started.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Mel Lehman. I'm the director of Common Humanity. Common Humanity is a peacemaking nonprofit organization which seeks to build understanding between people here in the US and people in the Middle East through friendship, and in this case, art. And we have a very special guest, Sara Masoud, who is going to be speaking with us today. What you see behind me is our studio, and it shows we're visually seeing what we're trying to do at Common Humanity. We have on my left side an Amish quilt, which is part of the American experience, made by my sister Loretta from my American Mennonite Amish heritage. And here on my right, we have some great pieces of art. And the big painting you see there is by Sara, and she's going to be speaking about that in a moment. You might get a pencil as the program continues. We're going to be listing where you can get in touch with us. And if you want to get in touch with Miss Masoud, maybe you might want to buy one of her paintings. They're beautiful paintings. They're for sale. We can't go through all those details now, but get in touch with me. We'll mention that a little later. Let me tell you about our distinguished guest, and I'm very eager to hear from her. Sara Masoud was born in Baghdad, Iraq. At the age of 15, she and her family traveled to Syria, where she completed her studies until she graduated from the University of English Literature in Damascus in 2005. Painting was and still is a vital part of her life, although she didn't pursue it academically, but she continued to paint, enriching her colors and lines to mirror the multitude experiences that she went through. With the help of a private tutor, a Syrian senior artist who helped many young artists to discover their work and their way in his small, modest gallery workshop in the old city of Damascus. So many places here I've been. I'll say that in a minute. I've been to a couple of these places. I'm eager to hear about it. In 2009, she held a solo exhibit at the new Opera House in Damascus. I've been there too. It's a very beautiful building. And if you have art at the Opera House, that means you're really good. I mean, super good, right? Sara resides now in Germany. Since 4 years and trying to establish her way in life, she would view her art as, quote, my spiritual therapy and the medium to my inner subconscious that reflects the ongoing development and change that happens within oneself without being able most of the time to detect it otherwise. Very interesting point. I'm eager to hear about that. I love bohemian art and have always been fascinated by the great dazzling feeling that she gets when you look at the multitude of colors and overlapping lines and shapes. I have been to several of these wonderful places. I've been to Baghdad about 20 years ago during the sanctions, that painful, you were a lot younger then, but I was there during the terrible sanctions as a humanitarian worker. My career has been as a humanitarian worker. I've also been to Damascus. I've been to Bab Tuma. I've been to the Umayyad Mosque. I've been to St. Ananias' house where St. Paul, the Apostle Paul, regained his sight down in the basement. And I had a special invitation to the Opera House. So enough about me. Let's hear from Sara. We're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about her journey. Then we want to see something of her art. If my screen share works, I hope it does. I'm sure it will. And then we ask all of our guests something about the search for peace. And then we're going to take a few minutes for Q&A. So tell us a little bit about growing up in Baghdad and your teenage years, I guess it was, in Damascus, and now grown up in Germany.
Well, I was fortunate enough to witness the good times in Baghdad, let's say. In the early 90s, it was a very quiet and calming childhood for me. I used to paint, play the music, play the flute, and have just like a perfect childhood. But sadly, after that, due to the insecure situation in Baghdad, after the Gulf War, we had to move to Syria. My mother is Syrian, by the way. My father is Iraqi and my mother is Syrian. So my life was split between Syria and Iraq. I've spent 15 years in each, and each country, I considered them both as my home country. So, yeah.
And now you're
Yeah, since 4.5 years now, I've been a refugee in Germany. Yeah.
Well, it is very good to have you with us. And let's take a look at some of your paintings. And let's see if my screen share works here. There we go. This is our contact information. We'll get back to that in a minute. If you want to get in touch with Sara, we'll return to this. You might have a pencil. Here is the beautiful painting you see behind us. The name of this painting is A Woman in Despair, an intriguing title. Tell us a little bit more about this painting and how you came up with this beautiful painting.
Well, to be honest, I usually don't plan when I paint something. It's not like I have a fixed idea, then I paint it, you know? I just doodle, and then when I feel this best reflects my, like I said in my bio, I try to be unconscious about this process. But like Woman in Despair, like you see, she's hiding her face. So sometimes women, especially in the Middle East, they pretend to be someone else just to be accepted in the society. But it's still colorful, thankfully. I like to be optimistic mostly. So, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Bohemian. I think in this, another way perhaps of putting that would be the pop art or the 60s counterculture art. Is that another way that Americans might think of? We think of Bohemian, we also, is that the same as Peter Max? Does that name ring a bell? I see a little bit of Peter Max perhaps in your influence, or how would you describe the influence to your painting? Do you have a favorite painter or an influence?
Well, one of my favorite painters is Salvador Dali, for example. So I like this bizarre way of portraying the reality, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with many lines and unusual colors. It triggers my imagination.
And my imagination too. What a beautiful painting. What a wonderful, wonderful painting. Yeah. Here is another one. Wow. Another one of your paintings. Tell us the title and what this eye means to you.
Well, I don't have a title for this one, I think, but I concentrate either on faces or on eyes. It's either hidden, the eyes and the face, or I usually make them pop out because, well, I believe in spiritual things.
Yeah.
And one of the principles is that you have this third eye where you can see more from the within and the outside, you know, more than the usual eyes. So this one is bigger than usual, just to state that we need to look more, to open our souls in a way. Yeah, that can be.
Yeah, excellent idea. Anything you would care to share about how you have deeper insights? Are there any particular ways that you have found helpful to understand? You paint. Painting is a way you discover something about yourself as you paint. So before you start this painting, let's say after you finish the painting, you know a little bit more about yourself, just a little bit more about yourself than you started.
Yeah.
So in the process, you're learning a little bit more about who Sara Masoud really is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I have a different strategy every now and then. It's like now I'm more of I like to observe things more than to be involved in it, because we're living in a world where, like, there are a ton of things that's happening in a moment. So
Yeah.
taking this quiet angle of my life and just to observe and see what's going on from a, I'm trying to be a neutral observer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, let's take a look at another painting here. Oh, very nice. Very elegant lady. Does this painting have a, I see a little bit of Art Deco. Is that fair of me to say that? Art Deco a little bit? But you have said Salvador Dali and Bohemian are the main. Does this painting have a title? And what might you tell us about this beautiful painting?
Well, sadly, no. I don't prefer to put titles, to be honest. Like, when I need to, I will think of some adequate title for the painting. But usually, I just paint. And yeah, for this one, we can say it's about the roots. It's also a woman. I tend to paint women a lot. So it's about the different roots, and it's like living in a, every piece of you is in a different place or country, or each one can see it from his angle. But for me, it's like I've lived in a multiple places, and each place has had some effect on me.
Yeah.
And I left some piece of me there as well. So yeah.
And that must be, I guess, difficult on some level to have been, you had to move, you had to leave, and that must have been difficult, I would guess.
Yeah, very difficult. At first, well, I don't say that this is my first experience as a refugee, although some people might be surprised, but to call it an immigration from Iraq to Syria, but this was it. I immigrated with my family to Syria at first, but back then I felt like home. I know that for many Western people, they think Arabic countries are all the same, but you've been there, I think, and there are many differences.
Yes.
So, but this was the first change in my life, and I uprooted myself extremely from my home country. But I viewed the change very positively because, as I told you, I didn't feel that I was a stranger. With my second immigration here in Germany, there are many positive things, of course. I don't want to seem or look like ungrateful, but it was very difficult.
Yes, yeah. Well, I have worked with refugees for 10 years of my life. I've been in humanitarian work my entire life. And for 10 years, I worked with refugees here in New York. So refugees, part of my public career, part of my humanitarian career, and very close to my heart. So very glad to have, here is a beautiful, beautiful painting. Wow, tell us a little bit about this.
Well, this, the idea behind it is that you're still the same throughout your life, but you're of course changing. It's like you have each set of years, you have this totally different personality, if you want to, of course. Which I found healthy. I don't like to be like to have the same personality as 10 years ago. Yeah. So this gradual development throughout the years, and each phase has its own colors, and it looks like it's the same person.
Yeah.
But
beautiful.
You got the idea.
I never saw anything quite like this in my life.
Thank you.
I go to galleries all the time and I sell art. And again, this beautiful painting up here is for sale. Anybody wants to talk about that, send me an email. We'll work on something. But I've never seen anything quite like this. The face, wonderful. Ooh, here's a very mysterious painting. Any comments about that for us?
Well, this is a difficult painting for me. I don't usually paint male figures. Yeah. And well, maybe this one refers to the, I don't think I can explain it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go to the next painting. This is another painting which is here in the States, which is here in our studio. I don't have it on display at the moment, But this painting is also for sale. Anybody out there, we're going to get you a name and email address in a moment, and we can talk about that. This is, again, any names? This is reminds me of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. New Orleans. People saying New Orleans. Any comments from your standpoint on this? Beautiful, beautiful colors and movement, energy.
Thanks. Well, again, here, well, the mask speaks it all, you know.
Yeah.
We're always wearing a mask to hide something that we think it's ugly, and we just want to get along with what's acceptable. So the colors behind are more vibrant, more colorful, because we don't need masks after all, you know.
Well, this raises an interesting point. At the moment, we need masks.
Oh no, yeah.
Oddly, well, it's not a joking matter. I mean, I live here in New York City, and I'm speaking to you from a very different medical situation in Germany. You have a good, wise woman, seems to me, Miss Merkel, the chancellor, who has figured out how to keep your country in relatively low levels of this pandemic. And we here have a very troubled man, deeply, deeply, profoundly troubled man, which is not, let's not go all the way into that, but that's my view. So we're wearing masks. So this suddenly, I'm thinking Mardi Gras, which is the great festive celebration in New Orleans, preservation jazz and American jazz comes up the Mississippi River to Chicago and all that sort of thing. I'm also thinking of this moment. I am going downstairs later today to pick up the mail, and we put on a mask. Any thoughts about that?
Well,
a very different way of looking at this painting.
Yeah, it could be. I didn't mean the medical masks, of course.
Right, of course. Yeah. I'm coming back to this wonderful painting, which I love so much. A Woman in Despair. We're going to be wrapping up the paintings in a moment. I want to talk to you about peace. Well, that's our question we ask all of our guests. Any other final things about this particular painting? We've already talked about it before. Beautiful painting. Here is how you can get in touch with commonhumanity.org. If you want to write a note and be on our mailing list for future programs, we're having a program next week at the same Zoom link on North Korea. We're going to be talking to a humanitarian worker who has been to North Korea. And if you want to get in touch with Miss Masoud's paintings, we're probably going to be doing some posters at Common Humanity and selling them with proceeds going to artists such as Miss Masoud, some of the other artists we work with. So any thoughts you have on a very big topic of peace? How do we achieve peace in this world? We got to find some way to get these crazy men, well, usually it's men fighting, let's be honest. I'll put that right there on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
What can we do? How are we going to work for peace in this world? How do you see it?
Well, for one, we can, I can say that art, in one hand, can help by bringing peace. I'm sorry, I need to gather my idea. This subject is very important to me, especially since I'm coming from a war-tormented country. But we need to relate better to ourselves. It's like, I'm gonna tell you about my first experience when I come here to Germany. They viewed me with suspicion, let's say, and I'm not accusing them of anything. I know that the media is playing a huge part in it. It's like they have this presumptions and stereotype about people, let's say, from the Middle East, and once they get to know you, they will realize, hopefully in most cases, they will realize there's nothing to fear. So when they see, for example, that you paint or that you're a musician or you had kind of a similar life to the people in the West, it's not that different. This is our problem. People think that the people from the other globe or other side of the globe is very different, and maybe they're dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
So they're always trying to protect themselves from this foreigner.
Yeah.
And like I said, the media is playing a terrible part in this.
Yeah.
So for me, my role could be that whenever I discuss things with Germans, let's say, or with people from European countries, I try to describe to them my old life in Syria and in Iraq. So, and many were get shocked just by the fact that we led a very normal life there,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, in my opinion, peace based upon mutual trust and getting familiar with each other. This is yeah.
Yeah.
Leaders like the one that you have, for example,
Right.
who always try to portray our people, my people, as dangerous and like that we are from the medieval ages, you know. And
Yeah.
this is the problem here.
Yeah. Well, I have been to Damascus, to the Opera House where you had your exhibit. Beautiful, beautiful building, and a real feather in your cap, as we say, for your career to have been exhibited there. I've been to Old Damascus. I've been to Baghdad to Abu Nawas Boulevard, which is along the Tigris River.
Yeah.
Poets, a great poet, and I've been to Babylon, where civilization began in your country. The alphabet, the letters under your face, SARAMS, and under my name, MEL, that goes all the way back through to cuneiform, which is writing in wedges in clay. So we really owe your part of the world, your home part in the Middle East, a great debt of gratitude for the great civilization you have brought to us. And again, I think we don't understand that enough. If there's any single misunderstanding that you think, well, let's put that in a positive way. Is there an experience that you had where you helped somebody from the West, in Germany in this case, have a better understanding of your part of the world and help something that happened to you and the German that was, you said afterwards there, yeah, we made a little bit of progress there. We made some peace understanding there. Is that something personal that happened to you could tell us about?
Yeah, I've witnessed many experiences like this during my residency here in Germany. Like one time I was discussing, or I was talking with my German teacher, and he just asked me, so can women drive in Syria? Do they have the freedom there to work, or, you know, whatever? Like, and he was very surprised when he knew that I had a car and I drove there, and I told him all the details about my life, because, you know, some people, even Arabic people, try to make it worse, to seem like our past lives are very negative.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why they came to Germany, but I don't like to do so.
Yeah.
Because you're just removing a whole beautiful past behind you.
Yeah.
So another example, I was sitting in a bar with my friend a few months ago, and we were discussing very loudly. You know, maybe you know this, but Arabic people speak in a very loud voice. And there were two German men. They were standing right behind us, and they saw that he was scolding me, or he was angry at me, and they were trying to save me from him, because, you know, the typical or stereotype is women in the East are very fragile or weak. And when I noticed this, I explained the whole thing for them, and I always try to put many details so they will have this full image of how we interact with each other. I hope I could have I answered your question.
Yeah. Well, you have helped us a great deal today, and I'm very much appreciate your taking time to be with us. We are approaching the end of the half hour, and we keep this to a half hour so that we hope people will come back. We will be on Facebook again next time. a week from right now, the same link. And again, we're going to have a guest from a humanitarian worker who has been to North Korea. Our main emphasis at Common Humanity is the Middle East, but we travel in our pursuits, and we're going to hear from North Korea. To get in touch with Ms. Masoud again, to buy one of her works, we're going to have some posters on sale pretty soon. Visit our website, commonhumanity.org. Thank you, Ms. Masoud. Beautiful, beautiful work. Thank you for taking time. I guess it's evening in Germany. Have a wonderful evening and best wishes to you. And I look forward to being in touch with you again. And perhaps sometime in the future, you can come back and visit us again. Thank you for sharing your beautiful work and your very helpful comments. Goodbye, everybody. We have, you can visit our website. We can take any donations that you might want to make to Common Humanity. That would be helpful as well. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.